Okay, so I want you to do something for me right now. I want you to mentally travel back in time.
Okay.
Go back to the very, very beginning. Not the messy part in the middle, but the absolute start of your business journey.
An origin story.
Exactly. Close your eyes for a second if you're not driving. Remember those first few months?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was late at night, the whole house was quiet, and you were just running on nothing but cheap coffee and this electric humming feeling in your chest.
Oh, yeah, that visceral, I can conquer the world feeling.
Yes.
Yeah.
You had the unshakable belief that what you were building wasn't just a job, it was a mission.
Right.
You were tired, sure. I mean, you were probably working 18-hour days.
Yeah.
But it was a good tired,
That satisfying exhaustion.
It was that exhaustion where your head hits the pillow and you're already excited to wake up and do it all again.
And, psychologically, that phase is just so incredibly potent. It's a period of high dopamine, high purpose. It's what the source we're looking at today calls the rocket fuel. That is the energy that creates enough velocity to actually, break gravity and get a business off the ground.
It's the only thing that works.
Without that kind of irrational enthusiasm, nothing would ever get built.
It is rocket fuel.
Yeah.
But here's the reality check, and this is where we're living today.
Okay.
For a lot of you listening right now, we're specifically looking at Canadian small business owners, from Vancouver to Halifax.
Yeah.
That tank, it feels empty.
Or worse than empty.
Yeah, you look at this thing, you built this thing, you poured your absolute soul into, and you don't feel that electricity anymore.
You might feel the opposite.
You feel heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Or you feel bored, or, and this is the really dangerous one, you feel resentment.
Ooh.
You look at your business and you kind of hate it.
It's a really profound and difficult shift. You go from that creative explosion, the builder phase, into what our source material describes as the endless paperwork.
The grind.
The relentless daily grind. And we're not just talking about needing a vacation. This isn't just physical fatigue.
Yeah.
You can sleep for a week and still wake up feeling this way. This is like an existential disconnect from your own creation.
That is the core conflict we are unpacking in this deep dive. We're analyzing a really comprehensive guide from the Local Junction platform, and it's titled Rediscovering Your Why.
A great title.
And I want to be really clear about the stakes here right up front. This isn't just about being happier at work or some, fluffy wellness advice.
Not at all.
This is about the survival of the business itself. Because if the founder checks out mentally, the business usually follows, right?
That's right. I mean, the business is an extension of the founder's energy. If that energy source dies, the whole organism dies with it.
Wow.
And the source frames this whole phenomenon with a really interesting term, the 7-year itch of entrepreneurship.
Which normally applies to marriage, right?
Yeah.
That old idea that after 7 years, you start looking around.
Usually, yes. But the psychological parallels here are almost identical. It's that specific timeline where the novelty has just completely evaporated.
Our honeymoon's over.
The honeymoon phase of the startup is long dead. The flaws in the system, or, the partner in the marriage analogy, are suddenly glaringly obvious.
And you start asking that terrifying question.
Is this it?
Is this the rest of my life? Did I just trap myself?
Exactly. And the source makes a huge point to say this is not an isolated incident. This isn't just one person complaining in a coffee shop somewhere.
Right, it's a pattern.
It's a widespread phenomenon. It says this is happening to Canadian small business owners right across the board. It's a coast-to-coast feeling of burnout and boredom and just falling out of love.
Which is so important to hear.
It is, because that isolation makes it 1,000 times worse.
Right.
Just knowing that this is a structural, predictable phase of the business life cycle that matters.
Okay, so
our mission for this deep dive is twofold. First, we need to perform a diagnosis. We need to really understand why this happens with such regularity that it even has a name. We need to get under the hood.
And
Second, we're going to walk through the source's 3-step framework to get that feeling back. Because the premise here is actually really fascinating and hopeful.
Which is?
That you don't necessarily need to throw the whole business away to get that spark back.
You don't have to divorce the business. You just need to fundamentally change the terms of the relationship.
That's it.
That is a relief to hear. So let's start with that diagnosis. Why does the love fade? It just seems so counterintuitive. You work so hard to succeed, you finally get some stability, you have customers, you have revenue, and then you're miserable.
Well, that is exactly the first point of diagnosis the source brings up.
What's that?
The paradox of success. The source puts it very bluntly. Success brings new problems.
Which, let's be honest, is the most annoying kind of problem to have.
It really is.
Oh, no, I was too successful. Woe is me. It's hard to get sympathy for that from your friends with regular 9-to-5s.
For sure. But let's break down what that actually looks like on, a random Tuesday morning. Why does success make us miserable?
Yeah, that's...
Think about the role shift. When you start, you are the maker. You are the one baking the artisan bread or writing the code or designing the landscape architecture.
Your hands are on the thing.
Yes. You are deep in the craft. That tactile engagement with the work gives you immediate feedback, immediate satisfaction. You have, dirt under your fingernails or ink on your hands.
You make the thing, the customer loves the thing, you feel good. It's a very simple, tight loop of effort and reward.
Precisely. But as the business scales, and this is the paradox, success demands that you stop doing the thing that made you successful in the first place. You get those more employees and complex finances that the source mentions, and suddenly you are physically and mentally removed from the core activity.
You're not baking the bread anymore.
You're not. You're managing shift schedules for the bakers and dealing with flour supply chain logistics and negotiating leases.
You stop doing the thing. You start managing the people doing the thing.
And that is a completely different skill set and a completely different biochemical reward system in your brain. You become an administrator of your own success.
God, that sounds awful.
You aren't interacting with the product anymore. You're interacting with HR policies and tax compliance and legal frameworks.
It's an identity crisis. You wake up one day and realize you aren't an artist or an innovator anymore. You're a bureaucrat. You're just a pencil pusher in your own company.
And the source uses a label for this that I think is going to sting for a lot of listeners.
Go on.
It says, the grind takes over.
Yeah.
And the founder becomes a manager of tasks, not a visionary.
A manager of tasks. That hurts. Nobody starts a business dreaming of being a manager of tasks.
Not a single person.
You start because you have a vision. You want to change something in your community. You want to, disrupt an industry. And suddenly your big vision is clearing out the inbox.
And checking payroll and putting out fires that other people started. It's a slow creep, It doesn't happen overnight.
No.
It happens one delegated task at a time until you look up and realize your calendar is just full of things you hate and you haven't done real work, the work that actually feeds your soul in 6 months.
There's another factor here in the diagnosis section that I found really interesting. It talks about something called the disruptor trap.
Oh, yeah.
And market changes.
This is a fascinating psychological element. When you launch, usually you're doing something new. You're the underdog. You're the disruptor.
That's the exciting part.
It is. It gives you a dopamine hit. You're fighting the status quo. You are the rebel against the giants.
But if you win...
Exactly. If you win, you become the status quo. The source points out that what was innovative then is now commonplace.
So maybe you were the first cafe in your neighborhood to offer a specific type of cold brew or a certain atmosphere.
And now there are 3 chains on your block doing the exact same thing. The excitement of being the disruptor is gone because you are now the incumbent.
You're the establishment.
You are the establishment.
That is such a subtle shift, but I can totally see how that kills the vibe. If your whole identity is the rebel, and then suddenly everyone is doing what you're doing and you're the market leader, where's the thrill?
The thrill of the chase is over. And for a certain type of entrepreneurial personality, the type that really thrives on problem solving and high-stakes stability is actually the enemy.
The enemy.
The source explicitly mentions lack of challenge. Once all the major hurdles are overcome, stability can feel incredibly dull.
It's the curse of competence.
Yeah.
You got so good at it that now it's boring. It's like playing a video game on easy mode after you've already beaten the boss level.
Yeah.
There's no risk, so there's no rush.
And there's one more layer to this diagnosis that we have to touch on, which is shifting personal values.
Okay, this is the, it's not you, it's me, part of the breakup with your business.
In a way, yeah. But think about the timeline. If this is the 7-year itch, think about who you were 7 years ago versus who you are now.
Totally different person.
Right. The source argues that the business might still be operating on the values you had 7 years ago. Maybe back then your top value was growth at all costs or prove everyone wrong.
Maybe you were single, no kids, willing to work 80 hours a week just to dominate the market.
Right. And now Maybe you're 7 years older, you have a family, or your health has become a priority, or you just want to do meaningful work, not just profitable work.
Your priorities have changed.
Exactly. The human running the machine has evolved, but the machine is still programmed for the old version of the human.
And that creates friction.
It creates that resentment we talked about in the intro. You are literally trapped in a cage you built for a version of yourself that doesn't even exist anymore.
Wow. So, to recap the diagnosis, you're bored because you succeeded, you're stuck in admin hell, you're no longer the cool disruptor, and you've grown up while your business hasn't.
It's a pretty bleak picture if you stop there.
It is.
Yeah.
And honestly, this is the point where so many entrepreneurs just sell or quit or
Just let the business slowly die on the vine because they can't bring themselves to care anymore. They check out.
But luckily for all of us, the local junction guide does not stop there. They say falling out of love isn't the end, it just requires intentional effort.
And that phrasing is so key.
Yeah.
Intentional effort.
What does that mean exactly?
It means you can't just wait for the passion to come back. It's not going to float in through the window on a summer breeze. You have to actively go and get it.
And that leads us to step 1 of their framework.
The excavation.
The why excavation. I love this image. We're going to grab a shovel and dig through all the layers of bureaucracy to find the soul of the company again.
It's all about going back to basics. The source suggests grabbing a pen and paper, actually getting analog with this, turning off the screens, and asking 4 critical questions.
Okay.
And I think we should walk through these in detail, because if you just skim them, they can sound a bit like corporate fluff. But if you actually sit down and answer them honestly, they are incredibly powerful diagnostic tools.
Let's do it. Question number 1. What problem was I truly excited to solve when I started?
Okay, note the word truly. And note that it focuses on the problem, not the solution. It's not asking, what product did I sell? It's asking about the frustration or the gap in the world that bothered you so much that you had to start a company to fix it.
So not, I wanted to sell coffee, but maybe I was tired of there being no real community space in my neighborhood where people actually talk to each other.
That is it, exactly. Or I was tired of seeing small business owners get ripped off by confusing, expensive accounting software.
Right.
When you reconnect with the problem, you often reignite the desire to solve it, because chances are that problem still exists. Or maybe it's evolved and now it needs a new solution.
It gets you out of the weeds.
But that core itch you were trying to scratch is usually still very relevant. It grounds you back in the utility of what you do. You aren't just moving widgets. You are fixing something that is broken in the world.
Okay, so that's question 1. Question number 2, what impact did I dream of making for my customers or community?
This shifts the focus from the what to the who. It's so easy to get bogged down in transactions. Sales numbers, conversion rates, click-throughs, average basket size.
Metrics.
All the metrics, and we forget the transformation we promised the customer. Did you dream of giving people their time back? Did you dream of making them feel confident walking into a room?
It's easy to forget that when you're staring at a P&L sheet. The P&L doesn't show confidence created or joy delivered.
It absolutely does not. It just shows dollars and cents.
Which are important, but
they're not the whole story. And that's why you have to intentionally remember it. You have to visualize the human being on the other side of that transaction.
right.
If you run a landscaping business, your impact isn't just cutting grass. It's giving a family a backyard where their kids can have memories. It's giving a homeowner pride in their property. That is a very different emotional hook.
Question number 3. This one is my favorite because it's so tactical. What parts of my work still give me a tiny spark of joy or satisfaction?
The tiny spark. This is so crucial because it suggests the fire isn't totally out. There are still embers.
You just have to find them.
And you have to be really, really honest here. Maybe you hate 90% of your week. You hate the emails, the meetings, the logistics, the personnel issues. But is there that 10%?
Maybe it's the moment you hand the keys to a new homeowner. Or maybe it's the design phase of a new project where you just get to sketch.
Or maybe it's mentoring a junior employee and watching them finally get it. Whatever it is, you have to identify it, because that spark is the seed of your new role. If you don't know what gives you energy, you can't possibly restructure your job to get more of it.
You have to find the signal in all the noise.
That's it. And finally, question number 4. If money wasn't an issue, what would I change about my day-to-day?
The magic wand question.
It is, and it's designed to break the mental chains. We tell ourselves these lies like, oh, I have to do this admin work because it saves money, or I have to take on this client I hate because we need the revenue.
Scarcity mindset.
This question forces you to design your ideal day without that scarcity mindset. It removes all the excuses.
If money wasn't an issue, would you ever look at a spreadsheet again? Probably not.
Exactly. Would you spend all day in the workshop? Maybe. Would you spend all day just talking to customers and hearing their stories?
And once you know the answer to that, let's say you realize, if money wasn't an issue, I would just design new products all day. Then you have a North Star. You can't necessarily get there tomorrow, but you can start steering the ship in that direction. You can start asking, okay, how do I offload everything that isn't product design?
The source really emphasizes that this whole exercise isn't about profit, it's about purpose. The big takeaway here is that your original why, it's often still there.
It didn't leave.
No, it just got buried under years and years of how.
Buried under the how. That is such a good way to put it. We get so obsessed with the mechanics of the business, the engine maintenance, and we forget where we're actually supposed to be driving the car.
Totally.
So, okay, let's say we've done the excavation, we found the bones, we remember why we started, we realize we actually do still care about the problem, and we do still love the creative part.
Great.
But we still have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the inbox is still full, and the payroll still needs to be done.
Right. A mindset shift is great, but it doesn't clear your inbox for you. Epiphanies don't do paperwork.
So what's next?
That is where step 2 comes in. The source calls it structural triage.
And the subtitle is Delegate or Innovate.
The core philosophy here is change the role, not the business. The source makes a pretty bold assertion here. It says that resentment often comes from specific tasks, not the business as a whole. You think you hate your company, but what you actually hate is the 15 hours a week you spend on bookkeeping.
And the 10 hours a week you spend trying to figure out social media.
Yes. This goes right back to that innovator stuck in admin concept. If you are a race car driver, but you're spending 8 hours a day changing tires in the pit, you're going to hate the track.
But you don't actually hate racing.
You don't. You hate changing tires.
Okay, so what do we do about it?
The source prescribes ruthless delegation. And I want to emphasize that word, ruthless.
It implies violence. It implies you have to be aggressive about this. Why?
Because entrepreneurs are often control freaks. Let's just be honest.
Guilty.
We all are. We think no one can do this as well as I can, or the classic one, it will take me longer to explain it than to just do it myself.
That is the ultimate trap.
It is. So the source lists specific examples of things to offload. Bookkeeping, social media management, operational duties.
The classic energy vampires. I mean, bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Who actually enjoys bookkeeping unless they are an accountant?
And even then, it's debatable. But the point is, if you are the visionary, if your time is worth, let's say, $500 an hour in terms of strategic value, and you are spending an hour reconciling receipts, you are not saving money. You are stealing from your own company. You're doing a $20 an hour task when you should be doing a $500 an hour task.
That's a painful way to look at it. You are the bottleneck.
You are. So the goal isn't just to do less work. The goal is to free up time for tasks aligned with your rediscovered why.
The things you found in step 1.
Correct. If you identified in step 1 that your spark comes from product design, then every single hour you spend on admin is an hour you are robbing from product design.
So you need to hire that assistant, get that software, outsource to that agency.
Whatever it takes. It feels like an expense on the P&L, but it's actually an investment in your own sanity and your highest value.
But let's play devil's advocate here for a second. What if the boredom isn't just about the tasks? What if I've delegated all the admin, but I'm still bored?
Okay.
What if the product itself just feels stale? We talked about the market evolving.
That is where the second half of this step comes in. Internal innovation, or as we all know it, the pivot.
The pivot. Such a buzzword, but let's ground it. How does the source suggest we do this without, blowing up the company? Because we have mortgages to pay. We could just pivot into a totally new industry on a whim.
No, and it's not about that. It suggests bringing back that thrill of creation by pivoting a product line or offering a new service within your existing structure.
So a mini pivot.
Essentially, you're launching a startup inside your existing company.
That's a really cool way to look at it. You have the safety net of the established business, the cash flow, the customer base, the brand trust.
Right.
But you get to play startup with a new idea.
Exactly. You get to be the disruptor again, but with resources this time around. The source specifically mentions looking for emerging trends in the local Canadian market.
Right, because this is local junction we're talking about.
Right.
So seeing what's bubbling up in your specific area, maybe there's a shift towards sustainability in Vancouver or a new tech hub popping up in Waterloo.
Or maybe there's just a gap in the market that wasn't there 7 years ago. Consumer habits change constantly.
And if you can identify a new need within your existing customer base and build a solution for it.
You get that dopamine hit of building something new again. You get to feel that uncertainty and that thrill, but you're doing it from a position of strength, not desperation.
It's like remodeling a house instead of moving.
Yeah.
You keep the foundation, but you knock down a wall and build a new sunroom.
And that new sunroom might become your favorite room in the whole house. It might even become the main revenue driver eventually. But the point is to engage your brain in creation mode, not just maintenance mode.
Okay, so step 1 is remembering who you are. Step 2 is rearranging the furniture, the whole house, so it actually fits who you are now.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about step 3.
Okay.
Because all of this sounds great in theory, but when you're sitting alone in your office at 4 p.m. on a Friday, it is so hard to keep this momentum going.
It is impossible to do alone. We are social creatures. We're just not wired for it. And that is why step 3 is breaking the isolation.
And the source is pretty blunt here. It says isolation fuels the itch.
It absolutely does. When you are alone in your head, the burnout just echoes. You lose all perspective. You start to think you're the only one failing.
Oh, totally.
You scroll through LinkedIn or Instagram, and everyone else looks like they're just crushing it. They're winning awards, they're scaling, they're smiling.
The highlight reel.
And you think there is something fundamentally wrong with you because you're miserable.
Nobody posts a selfie of them crying over payroll at 2 in the morning. It creates this completely distorted reality.
Exactly. So the source emphasizes the absolute necessity of hearing from others who have been there just to validate the struggle. It suggests joining entrepreneurial groups specifically for Canadian business owners.
It's about finding your tribe.
Yeah.
When you sit in a room or, a Zoom call and someone else says, man, I really hate my business right now.
Yeah.
The relief is just, it's palpable.
It is.
You realize you aren't crazy, you aren't ungrateful, you're just in the 7-year itch.
Validation is a powerful drug. It lowers your cortisol levels immediately. Just knowing this is normal changes your entire physiology. The source also recommends finding a mentor or a coach,
Right.
someone for perspective and for accountability.
Because sometimes you need a peer to commiserate with, and sometimes you need a coach to kick you in the pants.
Oh, precisely. A friend will tell you it's okay. A coach will tell you, you're drowning in admin because you refuse to hire an assistant. Stop complaining about it and fix it.
Oh, yeah.
They can see the label on the bottle. You can't read it because you're inside the bottle.
You can't read the label from inside the bottle. I'm going to steal that. It's so true. You need those outside eyes to see the obvious solutions that you're totally blind to because you're just too close to the problem.
And there's one more part of breaking the isolation that I found really touching, actually. And it's distinct from networking. It's not just about connecting with other business owners.
What is it?
It's about connecting with the customer.
Re-engaging the customer. The source calls it getting back to the front lines.
This is so counterintuitive for a lot of burnout owners. They think, the last thing I want to do is talk to more customers. I just want to hide. But the source argues that hiding is part of the problem. When you're in the back office, the customer is just a statistic. They're a row on a spreadsheet.
And statistics don't give you energy. Statistics drain you.
But when you're on the front lines, the customer is a human being whose life is a little bit better because of what you built. When you actually talk to them, not just serve them, but really talk to them, and you hear, hey, your product really helped me with this, or your service saved my day, that hits you on a totally visceral level.
It grounds you. It takes you out of the abstract nightmare of administration and into the concrete reality of, I helped this person.
It acts as a potent reminder of why you started in the first place. It reconnects you to the impact.
Right back to question 2 from the excavation.
Exactly. And connecting this back to the local junction concept, the directory itself, the whole idea is ensuring your hard work is seen and appreciated by local customers. If you are hiding in your office, you aren't being seen. If you get back out there, you get that feedback loop of gratitude and value.
It's about refilling the emotional tank. Can't drive on empty.
And positive customer feedback is high-octane fuel.
It is.
And it's free. You just have to show up to get it.
So let's recap the journey here. We start with that awful feeling of the void. We realize it's the 7-year itch, a natural, predictable result of success, identity crisis, and stagnation. We excavate our original purpose by asking the hard questions about the problem, the impact, and that tiny spark. Then we triage our role by ruthlessly delegating the junk and innovating the fun stuff.
And finally,
we break out of our isolation by finding peers, mentors, and most importantly, talking to the people we actually serve.
that is the roadmap. It's simple, but it is not easy. It requires a lot of courage.
And I want to circle back to something you said at the beginning. This isn't just about saving the business. It's about saving yourself. The source says this feeling is a signal, not a failure.
That, for me, is the most important takeaway from this entire guide. If you are feeling this burnout, do not spiral into shame. Do not think you have failed as an entrepreneur.
It's just data.
It's just data. Your brain is sending you a signal. It is a dashboard warning light saying maintenance required or course correction needed.
It's not a check engine light that means the car is dead. It's a low fuel light, or maybe a change oil light.
Yeah.
It means you need to do something, but the vehicle itself is still sound.
Exactly. It is a call to action. It's your psyche telling you that the current way of working is no longer sustainable for you. And if you heed that call, if you do the work, excavate, delegate, connect, you can come out the other side with a business that is actually stronger.
Why stronger?
Because it's finally aligned with who you are now, not who you were 7 years ago.
And speaking of the timeline, the source actually mentions spring cleaning for 2026. So this is very much about looking forward. It mentions resources like the Business Solutions and Growth Resources Bank on Local Junction.
Right. They have all these tools, things on digital real estate, guides on avoiding startup mistakes, all designed to help with the how once you have rediscovered the why.
But you have to do the why work first.
You have to. You can't outsource your why. You can outsource your bookkeeping, but you absolutely cannot outsource your soul.
Well said. The tools are there to support the vision, but they can't replace the vision. So here is where it gets really interesting for me. The source ends with a call to action to, list your business. But I want to leave our listeners with a deeper provocation based on this whole 7-year itch concept.
Okay. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking about the nature of commitment. We often think commitment means just sticking to the original plan no matter what. I said I would do X, so I must do X forever.
Grinding it out.
Yeah. But maybe true commitment to your business and to yourself means being willing to change the plan entirely so that you can keep showing up.
That's a powerful distinction. It's the difference between being stubborn and being committed.
Just say more about that.
Stubbornness is doing the same thing over and over, even when it's clearly hurting you. Commitment is doing whatever is necessary to keep the mission alive, even if that means completely changing your own job description.
So here's the question for you, the listener. If you're feeling that itch, if you're feeling that urge to just run away from it all, are you ready to scratch that itch by changing yourself and your role rather than just throwing away the business?
Are you brave enough to fire yourself from the jobs you hate so you can rehire yourself for the job you were born to do?
That is the question. The why is still there. Go find it.
And once you find it, build the structure to protect it.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.